All right, Ray. So we have the FTC cars rule that was going to be the savior for all consumers, and dealers were not going to be able to get around this. But this has now been shot down in court, and any hope that we have for consumers in the car market is now going to be put on the shoulders of the consumer. The shoulders of the dealer. Or the shoulders of the manufacturer.
Or
Uh-oh.
or it could be the shoulders of the states.
Anyway, the cars rule was a rule to prevent dealers from being able to do bait and switch type of mentality in the car market. It was also going to cut down on how dealers can advertise a price online. And then when you get to the dealership, it's now $5,000 more expensive. They wanted to cut out all of that, and where dealerships had to show all their actual pricing before you get to the dealership. The other thing that it was going to create was a lot of paperwork for these dealers. So for each individual fee that a consumer was having to pay, they would have to sign this waiver, this release or whatever, saying, I understand I'm paying for air in the tires and it costs X amount of dollars and I'm going to sign that paper. Then they go to the next paper. I understand that I'm paying for the sealant on the paint and it costs $5.99. Sign the paper. So the representative would have to explain each and every fee that is being charged to the consumer. This is why it was a great thing, because the consumers now would be able to see actually what they're paying for, how much it cost, and then it was on the dealership to be able to say, this is why you need it, and this is why we're charging X amount of dollars for it.
Yes. I think the term is explicit consent. So that the dealership would have to explain in detail what every charge is. The cars rules were intended to kind of sort of level the playing field to a certain degree in how dealerships could operate, in that if they advertised a price, the price they advertised could only exclude state fees and taxes. You know, as a consumer, should you be entitled to that? Absolutely. As a consumer, should you be entitled to knowing that the price that was advertised to get you to come in to buy it is actually the price that you could buy it for? Absolutely. I mean, what's terrible about that? What's terrible about a certain level of transparency? And well, what's terrible about it, as far as the National Automobile Dealers Association was concerned, is that it would require more paperwork and it would require more time in order to sell a car, because you'd have to get consent on every one of the items. Well, it's real simple. Don't pre-install those items. It's have an aftermarket department that you could send the customer to talk about any items they might want. And maybe you do that after you sell the car. I don't know, but it just seems to me that the more transparent the transaction can be, the better it is for both the customer and the dealership, because there's no ambiguity. There's no, I thought I was getting this and I didn't. So I think it's a mistake, and it's going to get sent back to the FTC to either get more information or rewrite the rules. And well, if it gets sent back to the FTC, nothing's going to happen.
I can tell you, as a car dealer,
yes,
I wanted this to actually go through, and I'm going to be in the minority of car dealers that actually wanted this to happen. I can remember I went to my dealer class this past year, and they were talking about this, and the instructor that was there, he was very dealer friendly. This was through a dealer organization. That he thought that this was going to go through, and he thought it was the worst thing that has ever happened to the car market. And I wasn't rude. I wanted to be, but I wasn't, just so I
Yeah.
could get the answers from him. But I was just like, why do you think this is such a bad thing? Don't you think it's great for the consumer? And he would never go back to the consumer when I was asking him questions about this. He was like, you know how much paperwork this is going to be for all you guys? And he said, what's going to happen when you want to sell your extended warranty? I was like, well, I'm not going to be selling an extended warranty. Well, even with the doc fee, you're going to have to explain everywhere where that money. Well, I don't have a doc fee. He was like, oh, and I was just like, well, don't you think for dealers who are trying to do the right things for the consumer and trying to be transparent to the consumer, don't you think this is a net positive for not even the consumer obviously is winning on this? And he's like, no, I don't know about this because the thing about it is, you know how long the sales are going to take? Well, don't charge any freaking add-ons, and then the sale won't just charge what the vehicle is. And he couldn't get around this because he was just like, well, it's going to be so much paperwork and the deals will take so long. This is terrible for the consumer and terrible for the dealers, and this shouldn't go through.
Well, and he was stuck on that because those are the talking points that he was fed from the dealerships. Oh, this is going to add hours of time and billions of dollars worth of paperwork. And would it really, could it possibly make up for all the crap you've pulled on customers for the last 120 years? That just one time the good dealers out there win and they get to hold the bad dealers out there accountable because the good dealers weren't opposed to this. The dealers that already do this weren't opposed to this. It's the dealers that look for every loophole, the dealers that try to figure out a way around everything. They're the ones that were upset at the possibility of having to do this. And I would think all the dealers that do it right, they should have been jumping for joy that the bad dealers would finally perhaps get held accountable. Now, having said that doesn't mean that there aren't rules and regulations, whether they be federal, state, or local, that already aren't on the books that could be used to rein in some of these bad dealers. There are. And it just needs to be enforcement. There needs to be enforcement by the state or the city or whatever it is. But in many of the cases, they don't have enough people on staff to be able to enforce all the rules and regulations that exist to protect customers already. So if you're counting on the dealers to police themselves, that's like what's that phrase about having the fox watching the hen house or something?
Yeah, that's very, very, very similar. Yep.
Yeah, so if you're expecting the dealers to police themselves, you're living in some type of fantasy land.
But doesn't this show you that these dealer groups, they have a whole lot of money, they got a whole lot of influence? Because this seemed like the most obvious thing that should ever pass, ever. Okay, you want dealers to actually advertise prices for what they're selling the cars for? Nah, I don't think we need to do that. Yeah.
It is. You've probably heard me say this before, and I've seen this in comments before. We have the best politicians money can buy. And in my opinion, one of the problems that exists in our country as we know it is that politicians are available for sale. You can curry influence with them depending upon the amount of money you are willing to contribute towards their re-elections. And so if I contribute $10 and you contribute 10 million, well, I'm just betting human nature would indicate to me that the deal that the politician that accepted the 10 million from the dealer group is going to pay a little more attention to what their request may be than the $10 that I might have contributed.
All right, new channel right here. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe. It's free for you, and it really helps us out.
It's human nature. So it's part and parcel of a system that is broken to start with. Where, I mean, what's the first thing a politician does when they've gotten elected to a political office? Well, they start working on their re-election campaign. Okay. Why? Because, well, this is a good place to be. How many politicians started out as average people with average amount of wealth and left politics extremely wealthy? They have access to information that the rest of us don't. So if you get elected to a political office, my God, the first thing you want to do is make sure you stay elected. So yeah, you can carry influence, and dealer associations do that, spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to protect their perceived interests, and they keep winning.
Don't you feel like even if this, well, it should have gotten passed, even if this had gotten passed, do you feel like dealers would just find some other kind of loophole to circumvent? I mean, everything that this thing said, they would come up with some way to, like you're saying, put an add-on facility on the side of their building, and the customers have to get. They would figure out some way to still screw customers out of their money.
Yes. Yes. I mean, people are always looking for loopholes on everything, okay, to circumvent any kind of rules and regulations. If one word's missing in something, they're going to go, oh, we can get away with this. It's just loopholes apparently are human nature, and we as human beings are conditioned to look for them. And apparently the people that work in dealerships are more conditioned to find them and look for them and find them than in just about any other walk of life, other than maybe accountants doing taxes, because they're always looking for loopholes. I mean, loopholes exist. And so, yeah, even if it wouldn't have been stricken down by the courts, and even if the FTC would revisit it, which I suspect they will not, and if it did go into effect, yeah, there's enough creative people at dealerships that they would have figured out there's still ways we can get around this before we get caught.
So what do you think? We know we've seen tons and tons of fees that are just commonplace. What do you, in your opinion, what's the most ridiculous fee that consumers pay every single day that you feel like is just the most ridiculous thing, and that just kind of normalized in the car market?
Well, there's two. There's the dock fee, or sometimes known
the yacht fee.
Yeah. And the other is the newest one, in my mind, is the ridiculously high charge for the electronic filing fee. Okay.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. A lot of dealerships, you'll see electronic filing fee, $395. Well, really? Really? Just to push send on your computer? It is. Could the state be charging a fee? Yeah, it's probably $3.95, not $395. So between the dock fee, which is an entirely made up fee that has absolutely no costs associated with it, okay, that and the electronic filing fee today is the newest one, because states allow you to apply for tags and title and registration fees online these days, and many dealers, that's how they do it. So they came up with the electronic filing fee.
I wanted to pull this up since we mentioned some dock fees. I just typed into Google dock fees by state, and guess who came up first? It was actually CarEdge. So good job, you guys. I can go ahead and tell you your pop-up pissed me off as soon as I clicked on your site. But anyway, here we are. So Arizona average dock fee. This is an average dock fee.
Yes.
$49.99. Colorado, $69.99. Might as well be $69.99. $699. Connecticut, $599. DC, $300. Some of these are regulated and some of them are not.
When you get to California, it's $85 in California.
Yeah, and why is everything else so much more expensive in California? Florida is the most ridiculous place to buy a car on planet Earth. If you lived in Florida, would you drive to another state to buy a car?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, $1,000 is the average dock fee in Florida. I wanted to find North Carolina because I know North Carolina is a big dock fee state too. I don't see it on your list here. All right, we're gonna have to get the guys on it.
Well,
Zach,
there's more pages.
Oh, okay. There we go. User error. Never mind.
Yeah. Usually is on a computer.
New York,
North Carolina. There you go. $699.
Yeah. Why is North Carolina doesn't seem to be one of those ridiculous states like you hear?
You don't think $700 dock fee is ridiculous? I do.
No, I do think it is, but you don't. When you hear like ridiculous state and businesses acting crazily, I'm like you would say, yeah, Florida, yeah, California, something like that, New York, yeah. North Carolina never comes to mind. Why is North Carolina one of the highest average state? I guess because I don't have a dock fee. All these other dealers feel like they have to charge a really high dock fee to balance that out.
It is. I've related this story before. When I worked at a place called Sun Pontiac, when Sun Pontiac still existed, in Mesa, Arizona, this was in the 90s. We had one of those slasher sales events, okay, where you could sit in a car and eventually the slasher guy would get there and they would slash the prices. You had no idea what it was going to be, but we guaranteed people that there would be at least one car for $99. Okay. And there was a guy sitting in the car and we slashed the price to $99. And then we brought him in to sell him the car and he didn't have the $300 for the dock fee. Because the dock fee was 3 times more than the price he had to pay for the damn car. Yeah.
So you guys were basically giving away a car.
Yeah.
And you couldn't sell the guy the free car basically because he didn't have $300 to pay the dock fee.
He had to go rustle up some more money so he could cover the dock fee. Yes. So dock fees have been around forever. They serve no purpose other than enriching the owner. Salespeople don't get paid off of it. The management team doesn't get. It's not considered normal profit for the dealership, so the GMs don't get paid on it. It is strictly a funnel from every deal directly into the owner's pocket, and not to be shared with anyone.
So I will say at our dealer class, what they said that you should do for your dock fee, if you have a dock fee.
Yeah,
I don't have one. All these other dealers did have dock fees. But what he said is that for however much the amount of the dock fee is, you need to break that up to show exactly where that money is going. Because he was saying that a consumer can sue you for charging a dock fee and for charging you a fee that means basically nothing. So that's why it has been really said by the lawyers that represent the Carolina Dealer Association or whatever, that when they talk to you about your dock fee, you should have some kind of equation to break down, okay, well, power costs this much per car, our title clerk costs this much per car, our rent goes into this, just everything, the paper, everything, you should build that in to get yourself to that $6.99 fee to show a customer who's going to sue you over this dock fee exactly where the money's going whenever they pay for it.
When people used to ask me, well, what's the dock fee for? And I said, well, that's to cover the cost of non-revenue producing employees. You know, we have accountants, we have title clerks, we have this, that, and the other. They don't bring in any revenue. They're just an expense. And this is to cover that expense. But that was just an excuse I invented. Is it a real? No, because the real answer was, it's just extra money for the owner. Okay? It had nothing to do with the title clerk or the accountant. It was just extra profit for the owner. That's all it was. It's all
for
it is.
For the SS dock fee.
Yeah, it's it's crazy stuff, but it adds up to a lot of money. You know, figure it out. If the dock fee's $1,000 a car, like it is on average in Florida, and you're selling 2,000 cars a year, that adds up to a lot of money, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
If you liked what you saw today, do us a favor right here at CarSense. Like and subscribe. We're new. We're growing. You can't do without us.